Greetings, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Elliott, and I'm the Programs Coordinator for the Arizona Humanities. Arizona Humanities is a statewide 501c3 nonprofit organization and the Arizona affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Since 1974, Arizona Humanities has supported public programs that promote understanding of the human experience with cultural, educational, and nonprofit organizations across Arizona. Today, we have a very special program for you. In honor of our recent Blue Corn Festival, we have the wonderfully talented Alana Yazzie here to lead us in a blue corn pancake cooking demonstration. Alana Yazzie is a fancy Diné lifestyle and food blogger from Phoenix, Arizona, who loves to cook, eat, and drink coffee. Mm-hmm. She is the creator of The Fancy Navajo, a lifestyle and food blog created in 2014 that follows Alana's life as a contemporary Diné woman living in the city of Phoenix, Arizona. Through The Fancy Navajo, she enjoys capturing her Navajo lifestyle in modern and bright settings to showcase the continued presence and thriving of indigenous peoples. Alana is also the author of The Modern Navajo Kitchen, this wonderful book here, a beautiful photograph cookbook that ties together traditional Navajo recipes as well as global recipes with a Navajo spin, creating a truly unique culinary experience. This program is sponsored in part by the People, Conversations Beyond 250. Now enough from me. Alana, thank you for being here, and please take it away.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Chris. Hello, everyone. Yacht A. Thank you for all being here with me this evening. Yacht A. She'e Alana Yazzie Yenishia. Twitsoni Nishle. Tutnesani Bashchin. Tabahada Shiche Kiani Dashanole. Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Yazzie. I am Diné Navajo. I am originally from northern New Mexico, but I currently live here in the Valley. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you in celebration or continued celebration for the Blue Corn Festival. As Chris mentioned, I am a lifestyle and food blogger. I share a variety of things from food to fashion, from gardening, my favorite native businesses, but what I'm most known for are my recipes, specifically recipes that incorporate blue corn. If you joined us at the Blue Corn Festival, I made mini blue corn donuts, which came out so cute. They were so yummy and delicious. But tonight we're kind of changing it up. We're having breakfast for dinner, and I'll be showing you how to make fancy blue corn pancakes with Greek yogurt. I have one that has pumpkin in it, but this one has Greek yogurt, and it is so yummy and so delicious. And what you'll learn tonight is that it's a very quick and easy recipe. And you know, we're going to be really highlighting blue corn here. But before we begin, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my book, The Modern Navajo Kitchen. It was published in the fall of 2024, and it's something that I'm so excited and proud about, mainly because not a lot of Indigenous books are written by Indigenous authors. So to have the opportunity to write this in my own voice is something I'm so proud of, and it really highlights and amplifies the Fancy Navajo brand. It's very bright, it's very pink, and it's a culmination of both modern and traditional recipes. So I usually highlight more of those modern recipes, but you know, you can't talk about modern recipes without talking about traditional recipes as well. So the book is, you know, covered into like different sections of, you know, a little bit about me. It goes into a little bit depth about a Navajo food pantry, and then it goes right into all of the different recipes. So we have a big section with breads, soups and stews, breakfast items like these blue corn pancakes that I have here. And then it kind of goes into more main dishes, sandwiches, as well as pantry staples. And then it concludes with desserts and drinks. Usually my forte is in doing desserts. I love making desserts, which is why I did the mini blue corn donuts during the Blue Corn Festival. But it's just a lovely book. And you know, if cooking isn't your thing, it's just a fun little read to go through, especially if you're interested in learning about Navajo food history and culture. All of the recipes have a head note on them that kind of explain where these recipes come from and why they're important into our cuisine. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started with our dish. So we have our all-purpose flour as well as our roasted blue cornmeal. And I did share a link with the Arizona Humanities team if you do want to make this recipe at another time. It is on my website, thefancynavajo.com, and it's also in the book as well. It's on page 61, so you definitely want to bookmark it. So here we have our dry ingredients. Like I mentioned, it has some all-purpose flour. We have our roasted blue cornmeal, and I'm just going to mix this together. We're going to mix together our dry ingredients. And as you notice here, I am using something a little bit more special, something a little different. You're probably wondering what it is. So these here are my Navajo stirring sticks. And so a lot of what I like to do with the Fancy Navajo is come up with new ways to incorporate my culture into my everyday lifestyle. So instead of using, your conventional whisk here, I like using my Navajo stirring sticks. These are a much smaller pair. Usually they're a lot larger, and we use them to make really large batches of corn mush. So I'm going to mix together our blue cornmeal and our all-purpose flour together. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in our other dry ingredients. So here we have some baking powder, some baking soda, as well as some salt. And I'm just going to add that in here and give that a good mix. And so I love cooking with blue corn. It's just one of those foods that naturally makes you so happy when you see it. Not to say regular pancakes are not fun and exciting, but the beautiful blue color just really adds a little bit more excitement to this dish. And so, in the Navajo culture, we do use a lot of blue corn, especially in the foods that we eat, but we also use the different varieties as well. So we also use things like yellow and white corn as well, and we use it in a variety of ways, but the major way we use it is in its ground form. So all of our cornmeal is stone ground, which makes it really unique, and it's a little bit different than the cornmeal you might find in your grocery store. A lot of the cornmeal in the grocery store, it's not as finely ground as what you'll see here. A lot of times, like if you buy like yellow cornmeal, like when you make cornbread, you might notice that it has like a little like granular structure to it. But since this is stone ground, it's a little bit more fine, and you can really taste that blue cornmeal flavor. And so we have our blue corn and all of our dry ingredients here. And next we're going to get started on our wet ingredients. So here I have 2 large eggs. And then to this, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of Greek yogurt. And so I'm actually using the Chobani brand. I like this one because it's lactose free. A lot of indigenous people, the communities, we are lactose intolerant. So Chobani's zero free vanilla yogurt is lactose free, so I like using it, and it also adds a source of extra protein. So I'm going to mix this together, and we're going to break down our egg yolks. And it's already like a beautiful, lovely color. I like using Vital Farms eggs. They're like one of my favorite eggs to use. And so we're going to whisk that together. And then to this, I'm going to be adding some non-dairy milk. So here I have soy milk. The recipe on my blog and the cookbook does say oat milk, but lately I've been really into soy milk. It's one of those milks that when I was growing up, it was very popular having your vanilla soy lattes. But so I've been really into using this soy milk, but you can also substitute this with oat milk or almond milk or just regular milk if that's what you have on hand. So we're going to mix that together. And then the next thing I'm going to add is some melted butter. I love butter. Butter and pancakes is just like the best combination. The two just go so well together. And so I'm going to mix that together. Alternatively, you can add things like coconut oil or vegetable oil. A very neutral oil will do very well in this recipe as well. And we're just going to give that a mix. And as you can see, we're like moving along very quickly. This isn't going to take a lot of time to make on the weekends or on a weeknight. I like having breakfast for dinner throughout the week. I don't know, I just personally love breakfast. So if I was making this at home, you know, I would make it with the pancakes, and then I'd maybe make it with some, you know, Spam or bacon or sausage, and it just would be the perfect, you know, weeknight pick-me-up. So we mixed our wet ingredients, and to this I'm going to mix in our dry ingredients. And I'm going to do that kind of slowly so that way we get everything incorporated. We're just going to mix it, but we don't want to mix it too much because we do want these pancakes to be a little more light and airy. I'm going to add in the last half of that. We're going to mix it together. And already I can smell all of those beautiful flavors. The blue cornmeal naturally has like a roasted cornmeal scent to it. I can smell the butter. I can smell the vanilla yogurt, and all those 4 ingredients really come together to make a delicious pancake. These are gonna be like so fluffy and so good. And so I'm just mixing it together. And there we have it. We have our blue corn pancake batter. If the batter ever comes out a little too thick, you can always add in a little bit more of your milk. Just add in a little bit, like maybe a few tablespoons at a time, to kind of get a good consistency. And by good consistency, I mean something where it's going to, you know, kind of dribble off of the whisk a little bit. We don't want it too thick or too dense. And we're going to go ahead and mix that. And so here I have my griddle on preheat, and I'm going to move it forward so we can all kind of see what's going on. Oops. Let me move it over. There we go, I accidentally unplugged it. So, so here I just have my little hot plate here. I like making my pancakes on a crepe pan. I love using the crepe pans because they are very non-stick and they're very easy to clean. You know, alternatively, you can use this in any type of skillet, or like a cast iron skillet, or one of those larger pans is really good if you want to make a lot of pancakes all at one time. But I like using my crepe pan here, and I have it on a medium. One of the things when it comes to pancakes is making sure not to cook them too quickly, or else they'll burn. And so we want these to cook slowly. And for someone like me, I'm a very impatient person when it comes to cooking. So that's one of the things that, you know, I always kind of like personally struggle with is, you know, waiting to flip it over. So I think our pan is good to go. And you can do this 2 ways. So you can use a cooking spray, or you can use butter to kind of get that on the pan so that the pancakes don't stick. My personal favorite is to use butter. Again, it just adds a little bit of depth of flavor to this dish. And so I'm just going to wipe this on the skillet, kind of like where the pancake's gonna go. And then I'm going to scoop out about a 1/4 cup of that batter. So we're gonna put that there. And I don't know if you guys can hear that little sizzle, but these are gonna be so yummy and so delicious. And we're gonna have to be extremely patient as we wait for this to cook. If there was an overhead camera, or maybe you might be able to see, you know when a pancake is ready to flip whenever the bubbles start to form on the top of it. And that just really ensures that the pancake is really cooked all the way through. And so we're just gonna wait for that to kind of cook, and we can kind of chat a little bit more about blue corn and some of the recipes that are in my cookbook. But I really wish you guys were all here with me. I would definitely serve you up a plate of these delicious blue corn pancakes so you can try. Maybe some of you are making this along with me. If you are, you'll have to write it in the chat so that way we can say yay to you, or you can send us a picture if you're making it along with us. So as I was kind of mentioning with the blue corn, the blue corn is something that is used in a lot of Navajo foods. So growing up, one of the major foods that I ate blue corn with is in something called blue corn mush. And essentially it's just like a corn mush that's made with the blue cornmeal. It is so good. It is a reminder of home for me, and it's a very simple dish. The mush alone can be eaten sweet or savory. The cookbook has a little bit more a sweet version to it, a little bit more of a fanciness added to it. And so I can kind of see my pan getting a little hot. So let's check on our pancake. Flip it over and look at that. It is so gorgeous. And then we're just gonna let it cook a little bit on the second side and then remove it. Usually when you cook, it takes the longest on the first half, and then the second half, it doesn't take as long to cook. So I'm gonna kind of put it there, and we are kind of smoking here, so I'm gonna be aware of that. So our blue corn pancake is coming along very quickly. I'm actually going to turn this down just a little bit so that way we don't burn our delicious blue corn pancakes. So here we have one, and as you can see, that did not take very long to make. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in a second blue corn pancake. And since I'm concerned about the smoke, I'm not going to add any grease to the pan. Like I said, I really like the crepe pans because they're really good at being non-stick. So it should be fine. And I'm going to lower the heat just a little bit. But as I was saying, the book has a recipe on how to make a traditional Navajo blue corn mush, which is kind of one of those recipes, like if you're ever interested in trying Navajo cuisine and you're maybe not sure where to start, this is definitely a good starting point because for those of you who may not have had blue corn before, it has a very like nutty and earthy flavor to it. It's very similar to grits, if you've ever had grits before, and it's kind of like a porridge, like an oatmeal porridge that typically is had in the morning, but it can be had any time of the day. So this is kind of one of those traditional recipes that I grew up learning about and eating. And as I kind of ventured off into what I do with the Fancy Navajo, I really wanted to explore new ways of using these indigenous and Navajo ingredients. So one of the first recipes that I ever shared on my blog, The Fancy Navajo, is a recipe for blue corn cupcakes. And it was a recipe made to celebrate my 10,000 followers at the time, which was a major feat. And so I had a lot of blue corn in my kitchen, and I wanted a fun way to use it up. And what better way to celebrate than with a delicious cupcake? So we had this recipe, and it's one of the most popular recipes on my blog. And it's just a fun recipe for people to make because, like I said, who does not like a cupcake? They're so good, and it's one of those dishes that's really fun to make with your loved ones. If you have kids, kids really enjoy making this as well. My daughter, I have a daughter, she is 4 years old. She really enjoys cooking with me. She really loves blue corn mush, so anytime we kind of go and use blue corn in a different way, she gets really excited. She really likes these blue corn pancakes as well. And then the book kind of also goes into just other more traditional ways of using it. We have some sweet blue corn tamales here that are really fun to make. They're delicious with a berry compote that also pairs very well with these pancakes. And like I said, I'm a mom. So one way I also like to make these pancakes is I like to make them like little silver dollar or mini pancakes. If you're a busy mom, you know that you're looking for quick and easy ways to get breakfast on the table. So if you were to make these in like small little pancakes, you can make it on a Sunday, you can put them in the freezer, and you can kind of use them throughout the week. And it's so good, and it's so good for them, especially with that added protein with the Greek yogurt. It is so delicious. And it smells so good here. I forget that pancakes also have the word cake in it. So it very much smells like we're making cake here. And I wish you guys were all here. I would offer you a delicious plate of these beautiful blue corn pancakes. And see, we're kind of chugging along here. We're making these pretty fast. I actually did a test recipe earlier today, and I'm surprised. I'm glad that this grill or this little setup is going quickly because, you know, on a morning you're hungry, you want to make sure you're getting food ready for your family. And we can go ahead and make some of those little smaller versions of the blue corn pancakes. So I think like a little bite-sized portion is good here. They do tend to fluff up pretty well, so you definitely want to give them some space. We're just going to add these here. I think that's enough. I don't want them to kind of come together, but they're so cute when they're little and tiny. And like I said, you can even make a big batch of these pancakes and, you know, freeze them or meal prep them for the week, freeze them, and then kind of use them throughout the week. You can pop them in the toaster, you can put them in the microwave, and it's just a fun little on-the-go treat that you can have. And so one of the ways that I like to top my beautiful blue corn pancakes is I like to top it with maple syrup. So this syrup here, it was gifted to me. It's from the Spirit Lake Native Farms. And you know, I love it because a lot of people may not know a lot of the foods that they already eat, they're also indigenous ingredients. So, you know, the blue corn, the maple syrup, you know, they're all different things that we already eat that we may not know have indigenous roots. And so, oh my gosh, these look so cute. They're so tiny. I don't know how well you can see them, but they're so perfect. But I like to add, like I said, the maple syrup to them. And I just like to drizzle that on. And then I also like to add some pumpkin seeds to this. I really like pumpkin seeds because, again, it's also another indigenous ingredient that not many people might be aware of. It's also a good source of protein. I think it's like a 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds is like 9 grams of protein, which is insane. That is so good for you and an easy way to get those health benefits. But our little mini blue corn pancakes are coming along. I did turn down the skillet, so now this is taking a little longer, but they're so cute. I love them. You'll have to let me know if you guys have ever had blue corn pancakes before and how you like to top them. In the book, I also top these pancakes with a berry compote. Whenever I'm feeling extra fancy, I take a little bit more extra time to whip up this kind of like fruit syrup, and it's so good. I like to make it with strawberries and blueberries, but whatever fruit is in season will work really well with it. And it just adds a little bit more color, a little bit more flavor, and it really elevates your simple blue corn pancakes into something even more fancy. And so that is another way that I also like to have blue corn pancakes. And you know, I have been wanting to experiment with different ways of making blue corn pancakes, kind of exploring more of the savory side of them. So something in the future that, you know, I want to try to make is dicing up little pieces of Spam and putting them into the pancake batter to kind of see how that might work. Or I am originally from New Mexico, and we love our New Mexico hatch chili, so maybe incorporating that into the pancake might be something fun and interesting to try. But these are so cute. I'm like, I already picked it up. They're nice and fluffy, they're portable, and you know, it's something delicious that, you know, your little ones will love. I love it as well. And it's just so easy. We're kind of coming along here quickly, and the recipe does make, I think it's eight total pancakes that you can have. Yep, 8 pancakes. And so, if you make the mini one, you'll definitely have an abundance of them. But there's so much exciting things about the cookbook that I always get excited about. So like I was saying, if people are interested in wanting to try Navajo cuisine, a good starter would be something like these blue corn pancakes, and then kind of going into the blue corn mush or vice versa. And it's a really fun flavor to cook with. And it's a very versatile dish. I tend to add blue corn into a lot of the things I cook regularly. I actually made a cake over Easter weekend. It was the first time that I didn't add corn to my cake. And so the flavor was a little bit different than what I was used to. But I just love cooking with the corn. It's one of those easy ways that helps me stay connected to my culture, and it's just a fun ingredient. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure to have in my cookbook is because I'm explaining all of these delicious recipes and foods to you, and you're probably thinking like, oh, that's great, Alana, but where do I find all of these ingredients? And so the book does have a resource in the back that shares all of the different places you can buy blue cornmeal or a lot of the indigenous ingredients that I talk about in the book. So in the back of the book, there's an appendix that highlights not only Navajo but indigenous owned businesses who sell these ingredients. And so it's definitely something you can order online, and you can have it shipped right to your door. Oop, that is not ready to turn yet. Shipped to your door. And so a lot of these items are very accessible to get. And so I definitely encourage people to check out of that list. Some of my favorites are places like Tacobe Indigenous Marketplace. Locally here we have Blue Corn Custom Designs, and we also have the Indigenous Food Lab Market, which are online places that sell all of these indigenous ingredients. And like I said, you can buy them online and they'll be shipped directly to your door. And it's really cool when you explore a lot of these online marketplaces to kind of get a big picture of what indigenous foods looks like. Like you'll see the corn mills, you'll see the maple syrup, you'll see, just all these other foods that you might not suspect to be indigenous foods. And so one of my favorite things is to go through those online food places and kind of see, what's out there. And I'm always surprised with what new ingredients I can find. But we're just gonna let our pancakes cook a little bit more. And I think Chris is gonna come and ask a few questions, and we'll kind of let this continue to cook as well.
What inspired you to start food vlogging?
Oh, great question. So I started the Fancy Navajo in 2014, and it was kind of at a time to where I was looking to gain more experience in the marketing field. And so at the time I was in a human resources job that I wasn't very fond of. It was kind of boring. And so at the time, Instagram and blogs, they were really new, and I instantly fell in love with Instagram. Back then, Instagram was, basically pictures. There was no videos. You had a limit on your captions, and I just fell in love with it. And so I wanted to gain that experience, and one way through that was to market myself. And so, in the beginning, I would share things like, my food truck. Like every time I'd go to a food truck, different places I was visiting, and kind of like organically I started to gain a following. And with that, I gained a little bit more of a indigenous Navajo community, and people would recognize that. And that's kind of how I formed the Fancy Navajo, because people wanted to learn a little bit more about Navajo foods, Navajo fashion, and I needed a platform to share that, which is why I created my website, thefancynavajo.com, which is an extension of all of the social stuff, to where I can share that. And it's really been a resource for people to learn a lot about Navajo foods.
And if there's anybody in the chat who would like to ask any questions, please feel free to do so. So can you tell us a bit about your book coming out this fall?
Oh, yeah. So I actually just announced yesterday, I have a second cookbook coming out. It is called The Blue Corn Kitchen. This one is a kids cookbook. So I am so excited about it. It comes out on September 22nd. It has 10 kid-friendly recipes. But not only is it a cookbook, it's a story. It's a story that follows along 3 generations of Navajo women. And it just tells the story of how Navajo food has evolved throughout the generations. And so it's very much a story about, my personal life and kind of like how I came toward the fancy Navajo, of kind of thinking of, how are we going to continue Navajo foods in the future. And so it is such a cute book. It was beautifully illustrated by a lady named Natalie Schnitter, and this is the cover. We just released it yesterday, and it's so beautiful, and I can't wait for the world to see the rest of the book. It's going to be so cute.
What is the importance of capturing these food traditions that can often get lost or forgotten?
The importance is definitely, keeping it going in our community. So a big part of what I do kind of stemmed from my knowledge. So I grew up in New Mexico, where I grew up in a very big Navajo community. And so it's something that I personally took for granted. And so once I moved away to college in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was completely, separated from my community and my culture. And for a lot of people, I was like the first Native American they'd ever met, which is like so bizarre. And they had all these misconceptions about what it was to be Native American. Some of the questions they asked is, Alana, do you live in a teepee? Do you eat salmon? Do you eat wild rice? Which is like so wild because, I'm from the Southwest. We don't have large access to water, so we don't have salmon or rice. And so I really question, what parts of my cultures do I know about and what I don't know. So each time I went home, I really tried to learn a little bit about, my culture. I would ask my mom, my grandma, how to make certain dishes. And kind of like in that early exploration, I started to realize, like, why does Navajo cuisine kind of stop at like 10 recipes? And so it really helped me to kind of visualize, what is the future of Navajo foods? How do we continue on these traditions in a more modern setting? So, the work that I do with the Fancy Navajo, my whole goal is to always to inspire others to embrace their culture no matter where they live. And so a lot of these recipes get people thinking about how do we use these indigenous ingredients in our everyday life, because for a lot of these ingredients and foods, they're only served at certain celebrations, like big family gatherings and stuff, but kind of incorporating them into something like pancakes or granola or cupcakes, it's one of those easy ways you can add in these food traditions and, carry them on into the future. And so the book definitely highlights that in a way to show kind of like that exploration of like, where do we go from here and how do we keep it going on for the future generations?
Do you have a favorite dish that you like to make?
A favorite dish? Oh gosh. Ooh. I would say every dish, but definitely my favorite thing to bake or my favorite thing to do is bake. I really enjoy baking. I like making a fun little sweet treat. One of my favorite things lately to make are things like scones or like cookies and stuff, just because it's like a fun little treat you can add to your day, and you can like style them in a way that it makes you happy, and like for a lot of times you have like extras, so you can gift them to people, and so you're continuing on that happiness of giving it to other people as well. So yeah, I like desserts. But another thing I really do enjoy making is like bread. I really enjoy making tortillas or biscuits, and I really enjoy making that, you know, with my daughter. And it's just like a way to both get us involved in the cooking, and, you know, it brings up, you know, food memories with like my mom and my grandma and getting her involved. And so it's just fun. It's just fun cooking.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to in the future regarding your career, your vlogging, your cooking demos, and the book coming out? Is there anything that you, Alana Yazzie, are like, this is something that I hope to achieve at some point?
Oh gosh, I really don't know, because like I never imagined that I would write a cookbook, nonetheless a second cookbook. And so, you know, you never dream or aspire to be like, you know, an online person cooking. But I think what would be really fun in the future would to be like have like some sort of like cooking show would be really fun, because I personally love showing people how to cook, because I always get questions about, you know, are you ever gonna have a restaurant, a cafe or anything? And yes, that'd be a wonderful dream to have. I would much rather show people how to cook, so that way, you know, people don't just eat it once and never come back. At least I can teach them, and they can continue to make these dishes and make it a part of their lifestyle. So yeah, a cooking show would be so fun. A cooking school would be even better. So I guess the possibilities are endless, and, you know, there's an interest, so.
Well, that is it for my questions for today. And I really do think a cool idea would be like a restaurant, but it's also like a cooking demo shop too.
Mm-hmm.
So you're teaching people how to cook, and I don't know, something like that would be pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of times, like when I serve this type of cuisine or food to like my family members, I can remember my uncle one time, he said, "You're like the Navajo Martha Stewart." And I thought that was so cute. But, you know, people often make that, you know, they say the same thing a lot. And so, you know, that means a lot to me that people really enjoy my brand. And, you know, it's important to me because, you know, I haven't always seen indigenous or Navajo cuisine kind of in this light of like, you know, it being vibrant, it being happy, and, you know, it being fancy, right? And so, you know, I'm glad to fill that space, and, you know, it's just my joy of cooking, and, you know, sharing that with people that makes me excited. So yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing the fancy to us at Arizona Humanities, and for all the viewers out there as well. Everything smells so good. I wish I could just gobble it up right now, but that would be uncouth.
I know. That's like the hardest part with like these virtual things, is like I feel so bad that nobody actually gets to try it, but I do hope you feel inspired to make this at home, so that way you can try it as well. And I always tell people that if they make the recipes from my blog, I love seeing pictures. I love seeing the pictures, the videos. You're more than welcome to email it to me, tag me in a photo. I always get excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, they actually made it and it came out right.
Yeah, and on that note, please be sure to follow Alana if you want to keep up with her by following the Fancy Navajo blog, or follow her Instagram at the Fancy Navajo. If you'd like to get a copy of her books, this one, go to her website, thefancynavajo.com. Books are available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, Palabla's bookstore, and more. And this one will be coming out in the fall, so be on the lookout for that as well. And Alana, thank you for being here again, and thank you to our viewers for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.